Hi, I'm Ross Hopeling.
I'm Garrett Dean, and we're here today at the SDSU Fly Trap. We just want to thank our sponsors quick, SDSU Animal Science, Department of Natural Resources Management, Sandy Smart, Cody Wright, Mike Hildreth, and Russ Daly.
So a little bit of background between me and Gary here. So we both come from family farms. We both grew up. My dad runs about 40 head of cows, and I think Garrett, what do you guys got? About 500?
Sure, yeah.
So you kind of get a variety between a lot of cows and kind of a smaller operation. So we come from a little bit of background. Right now for fly control, we currently use on our farms fly tags and spray-ons. I know guys around that are a little bit bigger have oilers, dusters, and basically why a fly trap. So this has come about through basically not spending as much money on chemicals and trying to cut down on some time because everybody has to go work their cows, go spray fly spray. So that's basically how it came about, and this is the fly trap will enable the people to have more time and walk right through it, or have the cattle walk right through and self-treat themselves, hopefully. And this will be implemented in beef cattle operations rather than, mainly it's been introduced in dairy operations so far.
Alright, so kind of where we started, at the beginning of this fall semester, we started with the first prototype, and one of our classmates, JJ Diama, started it in that first prototype was right there in the top right of the slide there. And the idea of a fly trap is it's an alley-like structure for cows to walk through. And when the cows walk into the structure, there's brushes on the side that'll brush down the sides of the cows and brush those flies off of them. And once the flies are off, they're going to fly around inside the fly trap, which has a dark interior. And at the top of the dark interior will be an almost like false-like ceiling with a slit of light at the top. And those flies will then fly through that slit and then get trapped on an outer tarp. And then they would die on the outside of that. And then the first prototype we had that we took out to the SDSU Cow Calf Unit is down here in the lower left corner. And we want to get that out there to just verify the concept that the cattle would walk through it, they wouldn't be nervous around it, and you could get a herd of cattle through it. And the results were kind of surprising. In that first picture, you can see there's actually a path worn through it, meaning that cows went and used it tremendously. And in these next couple of photos, you can see that these cows would go in any direction, and the results of this test were actually validated with our very first fly that was trapped.
So now we're going to went in from there. We decided to do kind of a redesign, and we kind of came up with some ideations from our classmates and kind of bounced ideas off each other through some meetings during class time. And what we found out is we kind of wanted to make the fly trap mobile, so that way you can haul it from each pasture to pasture when you're rotating in pastures. We wanted to make it more stable, and with that being said, we wanted, instead of using aluminum panels, we wanted to use carbon steel, and then we wanted to also improve the longevity with that carbon steel, and we would like to remove the tarps with steel sheeting or some type of sheeting. That way we could maybe make it a little bit heavier duty, and it would also perform a little bit better.
Yeah, increasing the longevity. So after that first semester, we then went into winter break and kind of went to some drawings and design changes. So like Ross said, we wanted to have that base frame that you could kind of tie in different features to. And in that top picture, you can see that base frame that we did construct. And then once that was built, we could then make a removable roof and frame that out. And once that roof was built, we could then implement our false ceiling designs, which is in the top right. And then once all that is tied together, you then can create that sealed barrier with some black poly sheeting. And then once that, and then you can see the final design in that bottom left photo there.
So yeah, we went from engineering to manufacturing this ourselves. We decided that would be the best way to not go way over budget by having somebody else fabricate it. So we just started by cutting the steel, and then we started framing out the panels. And as you can see right here, it's kind of like our, you can see the frame of it. We have the bottom piece and then the removable roof, and we're carrying the removable roof right here.
So once we got the structure, the frames all built, we then went into painting. Once painting was all done, we could then tie in the black sheeting and the brushes and the roofing sheets. And then so that the roofing sheets are clear to create that transparent barrier, and then in the inline, in the inside of it, you can see that the roof is then lined with the black poly sheets also. And the way you clean this out is you have to push those sheets up, and then you just use your hand to brush those flies out of there. And then we also implemented a back scratcher that's on a PVC pipe roller, and cows can walk in there, and that brush will just graze their back to help remove more flies, we think. And then kind of going back into that mobile design, we are also currently manufacturing a trailer, and the way this hooks up is you have to back a trailer in. I don't know if anyone has seen those chute trailers, but they're like a U almost, and there's two longer legs that will back around each side of this, and then a peg will then be kind of wedged under that, and then you'll hook a winch up to the front of it where there's a hook, and you winch it down, and that tongue will then lower to your pickup level height or a four-wheeler, and then you can move it around in pastures.
So when we got started on this, we started with an initial budget of about $2,000, and Sandy said that he would like to make two out of that, and with the increasing steel prices due to the pandemic, it was kind of hard to achieve this goal. So we ordered steel for the first round. It was about $1,300, and we thought we would have about enough to make it, but it turned out that it's been a trickle-down effect on all prices from that. We've looked into plywood instead of the poly sheeting, and that ended up being more expensive than the poly sheeting, so we decided to kind of trade off on some of what we really wanted and what we didn't want, and kind of move our budget around. And we started branching out to companies around and trying to think of outside the box ideas. So right here we have our back scratcher brushes. We got those from Bobcat. We just happened to call them on the right day, and they're actually removing some and throwing those away. So we kind of got a good deal there of about $500. And then eventually we needed to ask for a budget increase. That way we didn't want to risk quality for just skimping on some of our other parts.
So then after we were all said and done, we just kind of want to go over the budget analysis and kind of find that unit price. The total we spent was $2,978.22. Then if you break that down per unit, it's about just under $1,500. So then kind of looking at the marketing side of things, how you could market this to producers, we then wanted to approximate, because we did use some used material, and so we just said we were going to buy everything new. And then that unit price is going to be around $17.50. Then you have a labor cost, which we approximated at $15 an hour for 50 hours or something like that for $750, and then a 30% markup. And that 30% markup then brings your total to $3,250 that you can potentially market this to. And when you look at the industry and other pieces of implement that are used in livestock, I think that's pretty reasonable. I mean, a new loading chute's $5,000 alone, and you get into like working chutes and stuff like that. It's like over $12,000. So then we further went down and broke this down to Flytrap unit, like the unit price, and we went for 5 years with 100 head herd, and that brought it to just under 2 cents a day. And then when you look, and then we also were talking to Dr. Smart, and he had a table made up for comparing the cost per head per day for the summer, and which is 150 days. And then when you look at that, excuse me, so you compare that to your ear tags, your pour-ons, your oilers, and your wet gun. And when we compared that, you could then find how long your fly trap would take to pay off if you used other conventional ways. And if you look at a spray-on, and we applied it 7 times during the summer, because that only has a 20-day resistance, it takes about 3.5 years to pay for itself. And then you also look at the oiler and the ear tag with the spray pour-on, and it was around the same time. The ear tag and the spray-on was about 4.5.
So just to kind of finish up here and wrap up things, we just wanted to make sure that we hit up on a couple of our key components. We made the item mobile, and we're fabricating the trailer yet, or else we'd still have that up here. It's still environmentally friendly. We don't use any harsh chemicals such as spray-ons or ear tags. It's cost effective and time saving for the farmer, and then it will definitely provide a relief for cattle as long as everything holds up. And we want to probably start rolling this out here, or at least in the next couple of months. That way we can get some good test trials and see if we can move and change things around. So, yep. And